but let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, thank you all so much for joining. We are obviously chatting with Four Hands today. We're going to learn about the products and things like that. And yeah, ask questions and, you know, let's dive in, guys.
Well, thank you so much for hosting me. I always love doing these webinars. It's kind of great to get in front of you guys and interior designers, just because a lot of times, you know, we're working in a silo and it's good to get real live feedback from people who are actually working directly with the customers, the end consumers. So all your feedback is very well received. So please stop, ask all the questions like we said in the chat. And yeah, but a little bit about me. My name is Jaqueline. I'm your account executive here at Four Hands. I have a background as a buyer as well as design and product development here at Four Hands. And then the last few years, I've been working in sales, specifically with e-commerce brands like mine. So quick overview of the agenda, what we'll go through today, but I'm going to do a really fast background on Four Hands, who we are as a brand, just to give you a little bit idea for anybody who's new here or not familiar with us. And then I'm going to jump into 2025 color and furniture trends, as well as talk through 2025 new product launches. So a little bit about Four Hands, but we've actually were founded 25 years ago. When we were originally founded in 1996, we were an antique importer. And the name Four Hands comes from the original owner and his wife. It's a little bit cheesy, but it's them and their four hands going overseas to Asia and then bringing back those antiques to sell in the US market. So since 1996, we've obviously evolved a lot, and we're no longer that antique importer as we started out to be. And now we're actually designing and developing all of our own proprietary designs. So I'd like to talk and just kind of touch on our design perspective quickly to give you an idea of who we are as a brand. But really we make, you know, and design all of our products with the number one intention being that our products are livable. We understand that no one lives in a museum, and these products and furniture need to be in the home. They need to be jumped on by your kids, your dog, and they need to kind of like withstand the test of time. And then when we're designing, we always like to call ourselves material forward designers. And what we mean by that is oftentimes we're inspired first by the materials we're finding, and then we're actually bringing that material back, or bringing that swatch back, and then kind of, as you can see our creative director sketching, it's what form and what shape do we want to put that material on to really make the natural material shine. And then in terms of overall look, you know, when you look at the Four Hands line, you'll notice we have a lot of modern pieces and a lot of traditional pieces, but it's really the way that we kind of like mix and match all these things together. I feel like that gives the Four Hands look. And it's that idea of the different design errors, I think, that makes it feel very timeless and like trend proof going forward as well. Just because it's not too modern, it's not too traditional. It's almost like you can't put your finger on it, but when it's mixed together, it just works. I think the number one thing that really sets us apart from other wholesalers is going to be our designs that we produce, but also our in-house design team. So all of the products that you see at Four Hands are going to be proprietary to us, and we're able to do that through our Four Hands product development team. So we have all these people that work in-house at Four Hands, and they're doing everything from concept to ideation to finalization. And to come up with all these designs, they're constantly traveling the world, attending trade shows and factories, and they're always looking for the next key trends or key materials. So you can kind of like see there on the whiteboard, I feel like the phase of like trend forecasting is just as important as actually designing. Because if you're not designing into like the right materials and the right products, it's not necessarily going to land for the customer. So this is where we spend a lot of our time. And then just that idea of material forward designing, I feel like this picture kind of sums it all up. This is our associate creative director, Nina, but they're out there in the quarries. I think there's a marble quarry in India. And first they're kind of finding those amazing marbles and pieces, and then they're bringing it back and saying, well, what form can we put this marble on that really is going to showcase like the natural veining of that material? And I feel like it's that like connection, like the material with the form, that makes our pieces so special. And it's always nice just to know that we are sending our designers constantly to the factories. So they're also on the factory floors. And I feel like it's that final tweak or like those little changes at the end that really can make like a product just like take it up to the next level. So this slide, especially now, I feel like is more important than ever, but this kind of just shows our entire global sourcing network. And I feel like the diversity in manufacturing is important now, especially with the news and all these talks of tariffs of China and Mexico. As you can see here on this world map, we're actually manufacturing in over 10 countries. And then everywhere where you see that little black dot, that just showcases where we're manufacturing, but also where we have a Four Hands office. I do think it's important to touch on that we have our own Four Hands offices across the globe. It just means that we're able to have Four Hands employees every day on the factory floors. If it's not the designers, it's our Four Hands employees that are checking the quality and then making sure all the designs are made to spec. So I feel like it's how we've been able to scale over the years, do more product, but kind of keep it that same like quality and, craftsmanship that we were known for way back when we started. And then this is never the most exciting thing to talk about, but I feel like one of the most important things, but just important to know that we have a really robust supply chain. We have 6 warehouses here in Texas, and altogether combined, it's 1.3 million square feet, which is absolutely huge. And even from like the fall, like the last time I was doing these presentations, it's about 400 square feet more. So we're rapidly growing, and it's something that we're focusing on. And really why this is important but all this warehouse space means that we are able to achieve 90% of our core line. So those evergreen products, the top sellers that people know and kind of come to us for, we're making sure that they are constantly in stock. So when you guys are working on projects or looking to pitch things, if there's ever something that needs to ship quick or needs to get installed now, I feel like Four Hands is kind of trying to carve out a space in the market where we're someone that you can rely on, that that we always have something in stock that you can kind of like pitch to your customers. And then today we'll primarily talk about furniture, but I do just like to call out and kind of remind everybody that we are that full home lifestyle brand. So we're doing all the indoor furniture that you know and love, outdoor furniture, but then also we do lighting, art, accessories. We want to be like that one-stop shop that if you had to, you can outfit your entire home and kind of give it personality and character just with Four Hands pieces. All right, I threw a lot at you. Jump in if you kind of have any questions just as who we are as a brand or anything else like you wanted me to touch on. If not, I'll start looking and talking about winter 2025. Okay, so this season, we really want to look at our home as a haven, use forms with function, and express ourselves through design. You're going to notice that we'll be crafting collective spaces using styles that feel restorative, decorative, and distinctly you. Essentially, this season at Four Hands, it's all going to be about rediscovering the home. As we gather to explore design innovation, I do just kind of want to touch on that we are well aware of all the recent fires that were going on the West Coast, the floods that happened earlier last year on the East Coast. It's this idea of restorative home. It's feeling more relevant than ever, but, just wanted to kind of make sure that we're all aware that people have lost their homes. This can be like a very sensitive subject to at this time as well. But all that kind of being said, we're really focusing in on uncovering qualities that evoke a sense of restoration, and we're really trying to give the customer that like emotional connection with the pieces. It's that idea of like constantly trying to make that house a home. We're looking to do that through thoughtfully chosen products and materials, and we really want to show how these products, when put into the right space, can really transform your house, your living room, your kitchen, kind of more into this place of comfort and really give off like that feeling of serenity. This is always, I feel like, my favorite slide in one of these presentations. I feel like talking about color and materials are sometimes even more important than talking about the products, just because when you walk into the room, I feel like the color is going to be the first thing that jumps out at you. And then like after the fact, you're kind of taking in what the forms and how things are put together. But kind of playing into that idea of restorative home, you're going to see this season, we're focusing a lot on dusky and dark greens to really ground the space, warmer tones such as sierras and ambers and caramels to kind of give that sense of comfort. I feel like all these warm tones keep coming up in materials and color palettes, and they're really what make that like cozy, comforting feeling that we're talking about and trying to deliver. And then we always layer in, I feel like, a touch of blues, and that's really what gives you that feeling of tranquility that we love. And I feel like at a quick glance, you look at this page, it feels like really bright and poppy, but I think it's a good thing to keep in mind, just like the sierras and the mahoganies, how we kind of can translate some of these Pantone colors and bring them out in like deeper velvets, bring them out through marbles. So sometimes when it kind of comes through that filter and you're bringing it through in the natural materials, it doesn't feel as color poppy as it almost appears to be like in this screenshot. And then for materials this season, we're really focusing more on the warmth as well. So we're doing that through natural stones, organic marbles, and then forehands, we always love expressive veneers and Calcutta marbles. I feel like the different wood grains and the marbling and the veining and the marbling is really what helps give that layered interest into your design. And then lived in metals and aged woods are going to be particularly important for this season. That's going to be what's giving us that character and kind of giving us more of a timeless element. And then I wanted, before we dive into individual products, I also think it's kind of nice to talk about design stories, just kind of pulling back and seeing like, what are those big themes that we're designing into? And then we'll look at what products and kind of like how we deliver some of these design stories. But the number one thing that we really focused and designed into for this season was Nordic minimalism. This story is really defined by its idea of simple, clean lines, natural woods, and a focus on quality craftsmanship. So these products are going to be like almost very plain, simple. It could be almost like a box design of a nightstand, but it's how do we pick, the most interesting woods to kind of make that piece feel, crafted and special. The contour forms, I feel like this is an evolution of what we've talked about in the past with like the voluminous upholstery, but we're continuing to see like those soft edges, and we're really working in a lot of these sinuous lines. Having these pieces in your designs are what help create flow throughout the space, kind of encouraging the person to slow down. Modern deco and hardware details, these are a really nice fun moment just to kind of layer in character and thoughtfulness. We're also finding that these small intentional hardware designs on case pieces or like that hanging hardware on the art piece you can see there, it really encourages the person to slow down, and you kind of like notice these small details I feel like make your design really cohesive. And then ambient lighting, this has been around, we've been talking about this the last like couple years, but it's, how do you deliver that sense of calm in every room? And I feel like it's doing it through turning on the table lamp, the sconces, the floor lamps, turning off that overhead lighting, and being able to like create the room through a lighting that you kind of like pick and put into each one of them. It's funny too, I keep getting targeted for this TikTok audio where it's saying like the #1 rule is never turn on the big light. And it's so true. It's like, how do we turn off the overhead lights, and how do we create and set the mood with some of these like table lamps and sconces that we're bringing in? And then paper cord has been a really nice new material that we've been playing with. I shouldn't say new, it's very timeless and traditional, but we're kind of reinventing it and bringing it out in new modern ways. But we're wrapping different drawers and door fronts with this. And it's kind of our take on like a new natural woven concept. Cane was around for so long, and it's how do we bring in some of these natural materials, but how do we elevate them and deliver them in more sophisticated ways and styles. The soft comfort, I feel like this is one that kind of snuck up on us, but how do we bring out different upholstery pieces and shearlings, faux shearlings, and textural fabrics? A lot of these faux shearlings do really well for us. And this is also kind of something that came, I feel like, out of an evolution. Like boucle is definitely still around, but it's kind of evolved too into like, how do we even bring out more of these exploded textures? And one of the best ways I think to do it is through these kind of shearlings or faux shearlings. And then smaller moments we're going to touch on for this season, but we're really layering a lot of modern botanicals and like chinoiseries into art. And people who have been around and followed forehands for the last couple of years, I feel like in the past we've been very masculine, or I should say more gender neutral. And then really in the last year, we're leaning into a lot of these more like feminine touches of layering moments. I wouldn't say by any means we're a very feminine brand. I feel like we appeal to kind of everyone, but I love a lot of these touches of like the modern botanicals. It's a really nice moment. And then you'll also see a couple of these playful metals that we're talking about, but it's really, I feel like that side table is a good example of it. We're bringing out just really small layering moments like accent tables or side tables that kind of feel a little quirky and bring a smile to your face. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into some of our favorite products that launched for the season. And I'm going to start with this Maeve upholstered bed. You can really see how this plays off of that contour design story. It has that curved petal-shaped shelter headboard, and then the side actually overlaps with the side rails, which is a really nice little layering moment. And then I love how we're pairing that to the RMS nightstand, which is what we called out on the previous slide for that Nordic minimalist story. but you can really see the Scandinavian influence here, how the design has its super clean lines, and then how we're elevating it through that really nice veneer that has like a lot of those knots and a lot of character in the wood there. I think what's nice about selecting veneers like this is it really makes each piece feel one of a kind and different. The knots are always going to be different. So even if you have matching nightstands, they're never going to be identical. And it kind of seeing that as a way to celebrate it and offering the customer something more like one of a kind. And then showcasing a lot of those warm marble tones that we talked about. And it's like, this is how we kind of can bring in some of the more of those like mauve-y, warmer colorways. But I love the Zane coffee table. This is actually a nesting moment, and it's really great. They're these large, chunky sculptural pieces, and I feel like they're really nice for really grounding your space and kind of like almost a nice piece to almost build a living room out around. And then going back to that idea of soft comfort, we have the Miles sectional, and that is fully upholstered in shearling. This is a true show-stopping piece and definitely a statement moment. The Jazzella dining chair, this was definitely a favorite launch from the Las Vegas market, but I feel like it has this really cool, almost like quirky sculptural bolster back, and then it has a little bit of a collage moment going on. Collage moment just meaning like we have, if you actually look closely, the back is bolstered in a really cool sienna velvet, and then we're pairing it back to the Savannah brown leather seat. So it kind of has similar tones, but bringing it out in the different materials, which is a really nice mix and match moment. And then the Garrett dining table is a really cool modern take on a trestle dining table. We love this like really sculptural, almost semi-cylindrical leg. And then it has this subtle step back detail, which is really cool. And then when viewing it on a side angle, it has this really heavy proportion stretcher going through the middle, which is nice. The Hepburn cabinet in the back left, you probably think you've seen this in your line before. And really that's just because this idea of these arch cabinets have been doing so well for us. So this is a new one that we're launching, and it's a little bit different in the fact that it has a plinth base. So just a more modern, cleaner version of that cabinet that we have kind of brought out before. And then always love to have a little bit of a natural material layering moment. So it's a really nice pendant. That's a Wendon pendant. So the Lathe is a new extension dining table for the season. Kind of when we talk about form and function and livable, like I feel like it's exactly what we're talking about. We're leaning into a lot of these extension pieces that can kind of like grow with you in the home. But this piece will go from a circle to an oval, and then I think it has about a 20-inch leaf that goes in the center. But when it's fully extended into that oval form, it can actually accommodate up to 8 people, which is awesome. And then I feel like Four Hands is always really known for these super sculptural bases that you can see there. Just how it has that cool, like tapered, squared off base. And then I love how we're bringing that out in that aged natural oak finish. So you're getting a lot of like that wood grain and the knots you can see there on the base, which is really pretty. And then another way to kind of showcase that paper core that's not necessarily on like the nightstands or the drawer fronts. We have that on the back of the Beth Ann chair there. And I feel like this one, you know, it's cool. Paper core is a material that's been around for forever. And it's interesting how we can bring it out in a really modern, sophisticated way. And then I feel like this chair is more of a wink to the traditional. So the paper cord there is kind of woven into geometric window panes, which is a really nice, unique touch. And then I love how we're pairing it with these little like finial details, kind of just to push it a little bit more in like that traditional feeling. And I feel like when I use the word traditional, Four Hands is never truly traditional. It's almost like this reimagined, more modern way of interpreting some of those styles. The Sandro chair, this has been a really fun, I feel like, material pairing just because it's a material pairing of complete opposites. I love how we have that softness in the Mongolian fur, and then they're pairing it back to like that swooping wooden arched arm. And I love that idea of like the hard and the soft and like that juxtaposition. And then the Cora nesting tables, I feel like these ones are just going to do extremely well for us. But they're really cool and kind of great for like an add-on to a living room to give you a little bit of sense of style. But they're going to come in a set of 2, the nesting tables. And then it's actually a cast concrete. But when you look at it, obviously it's going to look like a solid stone. But the way they're doing that is first they're casting a side table in concrete, and then they're applying a water transfer process on top of it. And that's what's going to give you that look of the stone without the weight or the cost of it. Tate Sectional, another really great standout for the season. This is actually made in one of our USA factories, which I always love to highlight and remind people we do have some stuff made in the US. But I love the large arched arm, allowing for both kind of like this modernist look, but then also having this emphasis on comfort with like the large curves. And then you can kind of even just see from this picture, they've just padded the heck out of it. So it's all really soft and you kind of can like really dive and sink into it. And then we're launching this in a warm coffee hue to start. The fabric is actually going to be performance rated, which means performance is essentially just made to withstand spills, stain, any high traffic wear. So really great for kids and pets. And then the Brando end table is another kind of standout for this season for the occasional pieces, but has this really sculptural stone look to it. And if you actually look at it from the top, it's a little bit of an irregular pentagon shape, which makes it a little bit more interesting, I feel like. And then that smoke and russet is another way of bringing out a lot of like those warmer hues and tones that you saw on that color slide. And this stone in particular will come with a lot of variation, but just a reminder when you're pitching and selling to your customers, it's kind of talking about like the beauty of the perfectly imperfect and how each piece is meant to be celebrated as one of a kind. So I feel like that's kind of a nice way to talk about it versus just, you know, calling out some of the differences sometimes. And then the last style that we're really excited about and that I wanted to show here today is the Langham upholstered bed. The Langham has been one of our top sellers in sofas and chairs. I'm sure a couple of you guys have worked with it in the past. So we feel like this was a no-brainer to kind of pull out into the bedroom suite. But I love how this has like this really wide vertical channeling as kind of seen on the sofa and chair. And then I love how they're interpreting the bed in this really like low style. I feel like that just speaks to the modish Italian influence of the design in general, which is really cool. And then we're doing this in a cream to start. And that's going to also be a really high performance fabric. All right, I did a lot of talking. I feel like I touched on a lot of things from the color trends, material trends, design stories, then specific products. But I would love to open it up at this point to hear if you guys have any questions about anything specific, products, forehands in general, how we do things, but the floor is open.
Well, that Langham bed is just beautiful. I just I couldn't keep it to myself. It's beautiful, and I really love the different styles that you all pull together. I'm just curious, what do you have like an internal team that is in charge of kind of styles for the next few years? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of how we talked about the product development team. Their job is to both like forecast design trends, make the creative brief, but they're also the people designing the actual product that we bring onto the line. So at this moment, they're working on probably products, honestly, for 2027, which is almost like mind blowing, but they're working that far in advance. So constantly working on the next things and like how do you reinvent yourself and bring out things that feel fresh and you know, in case things ever get copied in the market, it's like, how do you keep evolving and keeping that trend pushing forward? Okay, Starla, I see you're asking about samples. Samples, fabric samples, what kind of samples?
Yes, fabric.
Yeah, so we have a portal that you're able to order swatches on. So we can send that out to Shannon and Laura, and they can kind of pass it along to you guys.
I think too, it's really, I mean, you saying that, you know, they're probably designing out until 2027, it really speaks to how you guys are always at the forefront of discovering and creating new trends, both with, you know, kind of tweaking more traditional styles, like you were saying, making them more modern, and the materials you guys use. I think that just really makes you guys stand out. It's all of those little details make such an impact for, you know, designers and for their clients. And I think just hearing that you guys are constantly looking, you know, so far ahead to make sure that you're at the forefront of setting trends speaks a lot to, you know, your style and your company overall. I really love hearing that you guys are always like looking well forward so that you guys are the ones setting those trends. And you've definitely done that.
Yeah, we're certainly trying, I'll say that, but it you know, it's kind of tough to keep coming up with them, but they're always blow my mind, I feel like, with the next thing they discover. Esther, so you're asking about wood sweat samples. That is not something we offer at this time, and I do not believe we're planning on offering or have it coming down the pipeline. I feel like the best place is, I know like on our marketplace, we'll have really high definition pictures. And I'm sure, Shannon, you guys have that on the Mind Portal. You guys can probably speak to that a little bit more. But right now, that's like our best way to kind of show clients.
And one
Yeah,
other quick thing, I'm going to jump in. Sorry. One other quick thing, Esther, is you can always use the location finder as well. So if you're looking at a specific piece, you can see what it looks like installed in several model homes with the map. And maybe that can help with the variance as well.
Yeah, and we're always happy to, you know, send you guys those super high def wood finish images as well. So just reach out to us. We can always provide that to you guys as well. And of course, you know, you guys can reach out to us for fabric samples as well.
Can I just say that we use forehands a lot in our models, and it's probably what we lead with. We'll find one or two really fabulous pieces, and then we kind of build the room around those pieces. But one of the first showrooms we always hit at High Point is forehands, because we take the lead from you guys. You guys have kind of done all of our legwork in setting that trend. So we will use forehands as our lead in our trend, knowing, okay, where's the trends going? Where do we feel like we need to be? So we use your showroom. We lead off with a lot of your products. We've never been disappointed. It's like every single time it's a home run. And
Thank you, Wendy.
You're like one of my top favorite vendors. We just love your products.
Well, I obviously can't take credit for all of it. I'm just a messenger, but I love to hear that. And I'm definitely gonna let the team know. So thank you for your kind words.
And even your lighting, it's like half the lighting in my house even came from you guys. Do you guys remember when the round ball glass ones, and then there was some like teardrop shaped ones?
Yeah, absolutely.
They were all in that big window. It was
Yeah.
I actually did 3 of those across my dining room table, and it's
it.
still, people are like, I love those. Can I get them? I'm like, no, they don't have them anymore. But
I love
I
that.
wish you could. They're beautiful.
Well, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, any other questions, comments? No? All right, perfect. Well, thank you guys again so much. I know the life of a designer is hectic and crazy, so thank you guys so much for taking the time to meet with us and Jaqueline today. If you guys have any questions about what we saw today, you can reach out to Laura and myself at trade@allmine.com. And like I said, we can coordinate any samples you guys need. And we will send out the recording from today's session later this week as well. So reach out if you guys need anything. And yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate the time.